Today we discuss about the corrosion, that is most important concern about the the technology. Various technologies are concerned with the corrosion of material because metals and alloys and some other materials are used for the purpose of the technologies. Here the chemistry in which the corrosion is one of the part of that, and that relates with the different metals and alloys. So different metals and alloys are used for that different technology development, either any of the technology, whatever we concern about the transportation system. Various transportation systems are correlated with the metals and alloys. So itself, metals and alloys, their degradation, their deterioration, their decay, all those are concerned with this certain uh, related the mechanism, and that mechanism itself is the uh, that mechanism correlates with we have to see the corrosion. So corrosion is a mechanism. Corrosion is a process in which the metals and alloys undergo the process of the decay. So here today, the decay, destruction, and deterioration of material. We have to come towards the different metals and alloys and other materials. For example, if we have to see the periodic table, in that particular periodic table, many of the elements are there. What are those? We can see that particular uh, in the way various metals, for example, copper, copper are mostly used in different systems, different technologies. Aluminium undergo the process of the oxidation, the process of the corrosion. Whatever the corrosion itself is also related the reaction. This is a type of oxidation also. Iron undergo the process of the oxidation. So that process is also called the oxidation. And oxygen, for example, in case of the iron, the example of the metal. So iron undergo the process of oxidation in the environment. So what is the environment? All of you know about that. Moisture, which is present in air, oxygen, that is also present in air. So air and oxygen both are the stimulants in the environment. And what happen when iron in the environment? So definitely this will iron undergo the process of the deterioration. Means iron is converted in another compound. Whatever the reaction is there, reaction between iron and oxygen, and they are in presence of water. Water from the moisture present in air. So in air, moisture is also present. For example, relative humidity. The relative humidity concerned with the what we have to concern for the moisture itself. So moisture means the water. In presence of water, iron undergo the process of the decay, destruction, or whatever we can say. So this process is maybe fast, maybe this process may be fast, or whatever may be slow. That depends on the environmental condition. Whatever the environmental condition, in environment, number of materials, number of chemicals in the form of gaseous, in the form of the liquid and solid. Those air in air present in air, whatever the in environment. So the environment, if suppose we have to see our environment, then definitely you can see the environment, whatever the atmosphere, that is the what, but the environment where the material is there. If iron is present in an open space and where uh, uh, their oxygen and moisture, those react with that, and after reaction this will sure a new material will be formed, and that is the iron oxide is there. So here oxygen is added. So what happen? Oxygen is added, then definitely this will react. Iron, the example of metal, reacts with the oxygen in presence of moisture, and a compound is formed, and that compound itself is what? That will be iron oxide, and that is the rust. So this is the rusting of iron. So we can say the rusting of iron is because of the process of the corrosion. So simple word, corrosion occurs in presence of some environmental um, chemicals, environmental conditions. So here, whatever, for example, in case of the environment, we have the carbon dioxide. So copper undergo the process of the corrosion in presence of carbon dioxide and moisture, and that copper is converted into copper carbonate. Whatever that copper hydroxide, copper carbonate. So this is also, so during this particular process, the metal undergo the deterioration. That will be definitely the destroyed. So this is much more significance regarding the corrosion. If corrosion occurs, and definitely the metals or maybe alloys. Alloys may be alloys are the, what are the alloys? Two or more elements. Two or more elements will undergo the process of the mixing. So here one must be the metal. So for example, copper mixes with zinc. The alloy, the brass. So here alloys also undergo the process of the destruction. What over here, some metals, for example, gold and platinum. So whatever the gold and platinum, and those are the noble metals. So they are the noble metal. They are also less and less reactive. So also the passive metals. So reactive and passive metals, this is one of the concern for the corrosion. So in case of the passive metals, the examples are the gold and platinum when we have to see the periodic table. So in case of the periodic table, we can say whole of the periodic table, then from left to right, here from the top to bottom, here in the transition metals, transition elements, here we can get the particular, the passive metals which are in transition metals in the right side. So those are, but whatever the copper and zinc undergo the process of the corrosion. So corrosion itself is simply a decay. Decay may be slowly or the fast, that particular depends on the environmental condition, whatever those may be. So here most important concern is the significance. Significance of corrosion is most one, and with the help of the corrosion activities in that metals or alloys, those are used, and those are used in particular technology. The relevant, if suppose we have the a train, and the body of the train, and then the system of the train, the transportation system. So different alloys and metals are used, The simple metal is the iron. Iron and its alloys are used in the whole system of the train. So the train itself contains number of metals and alloys which are used. For example, if suppose we have to see the boiler, so boiler of train, that is the particular use of the coal. So boiler itself, or in case of the diesel, that is also the engine. So engine contains number of metals and alloys. So if suppose those metals and alloys undergo the process of the corrosion, undergo the process of the oxidation. So definitely we can say that definitely there will be losses. But what we have, the life also correlates with that particular engine parts, as well as the bogie of the. Similarly, we can say the any of the aircraft. So aircraft also relevant with the corrosion of that metals and alloys which are used. So whatever, if suppose those certain alloys are very good, and those undergo, so alloying is the process. This is also the prevention of the corrosion. So economy, whatever one thing, that is also important, as well as one part is the economy and technology viability. So how that is particular technology. So we can say corrosion is one of the important concern in any of the technology, whatever that, whatever then very advanced technologies which we are using, either in different if suppose we can use the in robotics, so robots, so whatever there, so any of the technology relevant with the corrosion. So the question is there, how this corrosion can be protected with the help of so many things, so many uh, uh, preventive techniques. So prevention of corrosion is one of the important tasks. So there is a much more significance of the corrosion. Yes. So here, whatever we can say, the mechanism or causes of the corrosion. Metals are electropositive in nature. One thing. When we see the periodic table, in case of the periodic table, the metals are electropositive in nature. Why? You can see the left side number of metals and metals are there in periodic table: sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. So except few metals like gold, whatever, platinum, those are noble metal. Other metals are found in nature as their compounds. Compounds, the combined form of the element, compound form of the metal, such as respective oxides. So iron, one thing; copper, another thing; carbonate, whatever, then another tin. The various other metals. The, for example, nickel, the iron, we have the chromium, two different metals. So iron in the form of oxide. So whatever in nature, the metal present in their respective compound form. For example, silicon. Silicon is present in silicon oxide in the nature. Iron is present in iron oxide in the nature. Aluminium is present in the nature, aluminium oxides. So, for example, in that particular, they are compounds such as oxides, hydroxide in the form of hydroxide, copper carbonate, and then chlorides, nickel chloride. Then there are sulphides, whatever, the iron sulphide, then phosphates, silicates, etc., which are called their ore. So ore and minerals are the in nature on the earth, whatever on the earth, the different metals are not present in a native form. They are present in the combined form. iron in iron oxide, copper in copper carbonate, lead in lead sulphide, iron another lead iron sulphide. So the chloride, different phosphates, so they are in nature present as in compound form, natural. So whatever, if suppose iron is extracted from its ore, and that is the example is the magnetite, that is iron oxide. So we want iron from its ore. So definitely, what happen? We need so much amount of energy is given, and then we can extract iron from magnetite. So from its ores. So similarly, different ores are present, and we want the metals. So this process is called the extraction. So our this can the general term is the metallurgy. So metallurgy itself is the process in which metals are extracted. So here, whatever different metals which are in periodic table, we say sodium. So sodium is present in sodium carbonate in nature. Potassium carbonate. So magnesium carbonate, magnesium oxide, magnesium phosphate, magnesium. Certainly, calcium may be calcium carbonate, calcium oxide. So the question is there, how this continuous process occurs, that is because of on the earth these metals are not in native form, they are in their respective ores, and ores are the combined form, the compounds and metals. There is large difference because we have to see different properties of metals. However, different properties of compounds are also there, but there is the difference. So this is automatic process. Whatever we can say, the entropy, whatever the automation. So in nature, iron is present in iron oxide. So whatever different compounds, carbonate, sulfides, oxides, silicates, phosphates. So different concern of that will be there. So now we can say the corrosion and metals are thus obtained by extraction from their ores by reduction process. So with the help of the reduction process, they then metals we get. In nature, when metals exist in their compounds or ores, they are stable and they are in the low energy state. This is well known fact that whatever we can say, particularly uh, the thing that they are in low energy state. However, during the extraction of metal from their ores, the free metals are become less stable. This is the process. So whatever the energy less stable in metal. However, that is more stable in the compound form. But this is less stable and are in the higher energy states than in the ionic state. One question is there. Ionic state, that is the combined. So metals have a tendency to back to the ionic state, and hence metal. So whatever the question is there, the iron and iron plus 2. So iron and iron plus 2. So iron, Fe want to go to their ionic state, and this, so metals have a tendency to back to the ionic state, and hence metal atoms are prone to get attacked by the environment. So environmental condition, that depends. So this, the main reason for corrosion of metal is what we have, and that is the environmental condition. So here metal, mineral or ores, those in the form of the iron. the metals. So iron oxide, copper carbonate. So copper plus 2 in the mineral or ore. So copper is extracted from that with the process of the reduction. Reduction, all of you are well known about whatever in which the electronation. So what happened? Copper plus 2 take 2 electronation. The process is the reduction where we get the copper 0. Copper oxidation state 0. So that is the metal. Iron, but because of the environmental condition, this undergo the process of the oxidation. So here, what happened? Electrons are removed, and this process is called the oxidation. So oxidation itself is the corrosion. Why? Because corrosion itself is the destruction. So here, what happened when iron in nature, iron itself come in nature because of the process of the metallurgy. So when iron come, then the tendency of iron to undergo the process of the ionic form in the, so that is in the stable form. So all about this one. So simply we can say in most of the way, the corrosion itself is the oxidation. Oxidation means whatever all of you know about oxidation means the addition of oxygen, but one more thing on the electron basis, and that is the de-electronation. Electrons are removed from the metals. This process is called the de-electronation, and de-electronation is the oxidation. In our body, whatever different material undergo the process of the oxidation, and with the help of oxidation, our organs are decay, destruct, or maybe whatever maybe the losses. If suppose the treatment is not there, if body parts are not treated, so those organs can be damaged because of the oxidation process. So oxidation, even if suppose we have the food material, whatever the wheat, whatever the pulses, so those pulses also undergo the process of the destruction. So whatever the relevant is the oxygen. So all of you are well known about that. In case of the pulses packing, so pulses or whatever the food materials are packed, so but no oxygen is there, and oxygen is removed for that, because oxygen itself can definitely give the destruction of that particular material. So corrosion is one of the most important relevant in our life, in the sustainability of human being also, because oxidation, the corrosion, that is there. I think all of you are well known about that. We must use the antioxidant. So antioxidant, why? Because of the destruction or losses of the organ. So, but the reverse is the reduction. Whatever we have earlier seen in the picture. In the picture, the minerals and ores, and those minerals or ores are undergo the process of the reduction, where uh, electrons are added. So that process, because iron in the form, for example, iron plus 2, then 2 electrons, the process is the reduction. So reduction is when minerals or ores undergo the process of the metal extraction. So metal extraction process is the reduction. But what happened? In nature, on the earth, that particular metal is extracted, but when this is in open, this is in environment, this undergo the process of the oxidation. So oxidation itself is one of the, so now The question: how many types of corrosion may be there, and what are the examples? However, we have given lots of examples, different metals, different alloys also. All of you are well known about the stainless steel, and stainless steel itself is uh, the alloy. So what happened? Iron, to protect iron, the iron is undergo the process of the alloying. Alloying alloys Alloying is the process in which metal can take other elements or the metals. That is the process of the alloying. So protection against corrosion is one of the example of the alloying. So stainless steel does not undergo. So the name is there. The name stainless steel, corrosion less. However, in case of the iron content, we can see the corrosion in the form of the iron oxide. So here stainless steel contains other elements. And what are those other elements or metals? For example, carbon and silicon. Those are added into the iron. So that is very simple plain carbon steel. But other metals are also added into the iron. From that you see the transition metals. So different transition metals are added into the iron. So iron become, if suppose we have to add some amount of the percentage of the chromium, the nickel. So different transition metals are added into the iron. So that become the alloy. Okay. So that alloy does, and we get similarly about 10,000 types of iron alloys. Why? Because different technology, different, for example, construction of houses, construction of building, the infrastructure, the road, the whatever those particular whole of the infrastructure. So whole of infrastructure that depends on the iron. Metals others maybe a section window, iron window is there, aluminum window is there. But we have to protect that particular aluminum, that particular iron. So those are some other protection against the corrosion. So now we can say iron, there is a lot of the significance in this case. So we get the corrosion. What are the factors affecting? The main thing is the it enhance, stimulated. The corrosion rates are increased. So the corrosion is enhanced by the presence of whatever. These are the impurities. So if any impurity is present in the compound, so definitely that particular the corrosion rates are increased. So corrosion itself can be enhanced with the following things, whatever I have already discussed, the corrosion of iron. So here, in case of the iron, air and moisture are responsible. However, some impurities also responsible in the corrosion of the iron. But the second part, that is the air and moisture. So in presence of oxygen and moisture, iron undergo the process of the corrosion. So if suppose temperature is taken, so temperature also gives and with the help of the temperature variation, that is not here, but temperature is also one of the impurity. So for example, in case of the copper, what happen? Copper undergo the process of the corrosion. So native copper, copper metal. So if copper metal is there and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and moisture. So what happen? Copper hydroxide, copper carbonate is formed. So with that, that is in the environment, that is air and moisture. So relevant with that, so environmental conditions are important. We have to see different packing of the food items or whatever. If suppose a simple cereals, wheat or whatever those, or different pulses. So different pulses and cereals are packed in nitrogen atmosphere. So what happen? Nitrogen is less reactive with the metals and alloys. So only whatever one example of metal itself is the lithium. So except that nitrogen does not react with that. However, calcium in presence of carbon dioxide, that will be calcium carbonate. This one is well known. However, one more thing is there. Something is the electrolyte. So, if suppose we have the coastal area, for example, in case of the Mumbai and Chennai, those are the large cities, and which large cities are present in the coastal area. Coastal, we have to see the geography of India, where the Mumbai is situated in Arabian Sea, Arab Sagar, and then Chennai is the Bay of Bengal. So, Bay of Bengal, the sea area where the nearby number of cities are there, and so there the electrolyte is present in the atmosphere in the water itself. So most of the sea water have the more and more amount of the electrolyte. So what happen? We can give the answer that the building which are constructed on in area of Mumbai are definitely more corroded because of the presence of the electrolyte in the seawater. So similarly, in those particular maximum amount of electrolyte is present. So there is the, we can give the comparison between the, if one of the building is in Delhi, that is the inside, and building another building is in Mumbai or Calcutta. So in presence of more electrolytes, the building life is decreased because of the corrosion. So electrolytes are also important in this particular case. Some one more thing is there. If suppose we have a product, for example, any of the product, and for example, if we have to see the automotives, four wheeler or bi wheeler. So what happen? Automotives and bi wheelers, the iron, the alloy metals and alloy components. We can say that if suppose we have the in motorcycle, whatever the body of the tank. So if suppose some certain scratch or whatever the door of a four wheeler. So in a four wheeler, if door itself is attacked by some stimulants, for example, if suppose scratches are there or during the manufacturing, so that scratch is there, you know, door of a four wheeler or the petrol tank of bi wheeler. So if suppose those scratches are there or whatever the dent may be there, if so, that is the condition depends on whatever the that particular vehicle is running. So a particular vehicle get touched with the other vehicles, so definitely there will be the dent. So the area of dent and scratches, those are more prone towards the corrosion. So more corrosion in that particular area. So pitting and stress, those are the type of the corrosion. So pit, if a small pit is there during the processing, what happen? If suppose any of the material and that material during the painting, paint is there. So suppose we have to see. in our houses, the paint of the section windows are made up of the iron. Iron, then iron undergo the process of the oxidation. So protection, that is because of we can protect that by the painting, the coating. So if suppose during the coating, suppose we have the almirah. So in case of the almirah, painting is there. So if very small hole is there, so that is the pit. So what happened in that particular small hole? Iron undergo the process of the oxidation. So that one definitely we can say that is the corrosion. So these are the factors by which impurities, this air and moisture, the electrolyte, and then strain. Strain, that is, we have discussed about the pits during the manufacturing and the scratches, the dent. So definitely in that particular area. So dent in automobiles, dent in the car, dent in the bi-wheeler. So definitely the dent where stress is there. So what happened? The dent where the coating was there, but that will definitely there will be the corrosion starts more fast. So that is whatever we can the enhancement of the corrosion. So like that, there are other certain factors are available. So this can be so here two types of corrosion: chemical, the direct corrosion, dry corrosion, direct reaction, direct chemical attack of the atmospheric gases. I have earlier discussed the carbon dioxide, the oxygen. Here are all the other gases. Also, those are the corrosive gases. Definitely. Sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is the corrosive gas. What happened? All of you have well known about the sulfuric acid, the hydrochloric acid. So, hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acids are what? What are those? What chemicals are there? H2SO4. So what happened? The sulfur dioxide undergo the process and that is pressurely passed into the water. So what happened when sulfuric acid is in outside? So definitely sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide gases are liberated. So all of you know that hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid both are the corrosive, both can damage the metals, react fast. So such gases, those are present in the atmosphere. Here also we can mention the nitrogen. The nitrogen reacts with the lithium. Lithium nitride is formed. So here atmospheric gases like CO2, O2, H2S, SO2, halogen, moisture, and inorganic acid and vapors on the metal. So examples are various silverware in H2S laden air. Here the silverware also, the item of the silver also attacked by the H2S laden air. So second type, indirect. Indirect or whatever direct attack and indirect attack. So direct attack is the direct corrosion, is the dry corrosion because the chemical corrosion, because the reaction is the A plus B, then the product is formed. So that is the chemical corrosion. Another is the electrochemical. Here the condition or weight corrosion, it occurs electrochemical corrosion, indirect corrosion. It occurs due to setting up of a large number of very tiny galvanic cell in the metal in presence of the impurity, whatever I have and in presence of the moisture generally, impurity, more active metal acts as the anode and the original metal acts as the cathode. So anode is the area where corrosion occurs. An example is the most one, and that is the example the rusting of iron and the moist in this is due to direct chemical reaction of atmospheric gases due to molten metal in contact with the metal surface. So here we can say the dry corrosion. First one, oxidation corrosion, corrosion by gases. I have earlier discussed the hydrochloric acid. hydrogen chloride gas is liberated. So hydrogen chloride, when the area where HCl is kept, so that particular the hydrogen chloride the can get is responsible for different corrosions. Then liquid metal corrosion, this is also mercury and with gold. So if suppose we have the gold and nearby that is the mercury, so mercury itself, what happened? Mercury, that is in liquid condition. So what happened? Liquid metal, this mercury reacts with the metal and then the form the different amalgams. So amalgams are because of the mercury. So if we have the gold, so if gold is near, whatever, however, gold itself is the noble metal, but only that mercury can affect the gold and formation of the amalgam. So different metals reacts with the mercury and then the formation of the. So now the second one is the electrochemical corrosion, and that is this can be explained with the help of the rusting of the iron. So here we can say the well known whatever I have earlier discussed, iron undergo the process of the iron 2 plus and 2 electrons. So oxygen 4 electron twice of H2O, then this will give the 4 of hydroxyl. So here iron itself can be damaged by indirectly, and here the volt is generated. The electrode potential itself of metal is responsible for this purpose of. So this is the rusting of iron, and this is the second type of corrosion, and that is electrochemical, that is the indirect, that is wet. So wet corrosion, indirect and direct. Indirect and electrochemical, three names are there, and well known example is the rusting of iron. So in this particular case, what happened? Iron undergo the process of the oxidation. So definitely here anode and cathodes are formed. So those are the some of the galvanic cells are formed. So because of that particular galvanic cell, here we can see the clearly anode, okay, and cathode. So iron, the metal in the form of iron plus 2, that is in the this particular system. So iron in presence of Fe plus 2, in presence of moisture, the water and oxygen, whatever the above reaction, we can get the finally the iron oxide is formed, Fe2O3 is formed. So because of that is the process is the oxidation. How this is oxidation? We can say the definition of oxidation is the electron de-electronation, removal of electron or addition of de-electronation or electronation. So here removal of electron. So what happened? Sorry. So here the oxidation occurs. One thing. So what happened? Oxidation occur. Iron undergo the process of the iron plus 2. So whatever the beginning, we have to see the different minerals and ores. Those are in the iron form, but that particular we can say. So finally, I can say that very significance of the corrosion. However, we can also give some factors affecting the corrosion, whatever the purity, whatever the physical state. I have earlier discussed the position of metal in galvanic series. This is also galvanic series is there. Important nature of oxide film. So whatever that, if suppose we have the silicon oxide around the silicon chips, so that is the nature. So iron, if suppose aluminium, so aluminium surrounded with the oxidation film, oxide film, nature of products of corrosion, what products are formed. So relative areas of cathode and anode, these are the first nature of the corroding environment, temperature, humidity, here effects of the pH, pressure, presence of impurities, nature of electrolytes, solubility of products. So these are also the factor affecting. So finally, we can give the answer that most important is the corrosion. In the during the preparation, during that preparation, and during the any of the technology, however, discuss number of technology, any of the area, whatever agriculture area, in those the metals and alloys are used. Whatever in case of the electrical engineering, electronics engineering, in the civil engineering, in the mechanical engineering, corrosion is one of the part. Even the computer science and engineering, where different hardwares are used. So the responsibility of two different hardwares of the computers. So that is because of the process of the corrosion. So to avoid that particular corrosion, so what we have, the very simple decay, destruction of the material. So many in nature, what happen? Different living parts, dead bodies undergo the process of the oxidation. So that is the decay, destruction. So definitely that is relevant with the that those are the biodegradable. Whatever that concern the life itself. So life cells also undergo the process of the corrosion. So, whatever that is the decay. So, finally, we can see the different metals, alloys, others, there is great significance of the corrosion. So, any of this. So, thank you for listening, for the patience, whatever the information given by me, and definitely, I hope that you will get the relevant informations from me, and those informations are most of the part in the technology in the life also. Corrosion itself is the, also we have the great relevance in our life of the corrosion, because destruction process is the destruction. So more relevance, whatever the, if we have to see the advanced technology, battery technology. So in case of the battery, also can see the anode and cathode, and anode and cathode. So here at the anode, the oxidation occurs. So battery case, electrochemical cell is there. So there is a type of corrosion, and that is indirect type of corrosion. So in another lecture, we will take the how to protect the corrosion, and that is the protection against the corrosion. All of you are well known about one of the thing, that protection against the corrosion is one of the important issue, and we can say the of uh, prevention of disease can be prevention is more better than to cure it. If suppose corrosion occurs, then it is very difficult. So what we have, we can get the protection. So how metals and alloys are protected. So with the help of more and more technologies, and which are given, whatever many of those, all of you are well known about that, the certain coating itself, coating, the painting, the phosphating. So this is one of the technology. So what we have can see the prevention of material is more better, because that they give definitely the whatever the life of the product. So if a building, in case of the building, we can construct, and we are using a number of metals and alloys, and those metals or alloys, if safely protected with the different technologies, different techniques, so definitely we have a losses of the money, because of those are undergo the process of the corrosion. So if corrosion continue more and more, so definitely that particular product or that particular material will be wholly decayed. So whatever some there may be the mishappening in the buildings also, because of the corrode metals corrode iron. So this is all about whatever the significance, what how we can protect. So this is all about corrosion, and most important is the significance. Okay, all the best. So I think, I suppose that you can understand this is the part of the chemistry and most important, relevant, uh, and that is the technology also, corrosion techniques, corrosion that can be as a technology also, because with the help of the corrosion we can see the uh, significance of the technology. Okay.